Hello, lovely people. Hopefully you are doing well. It is a beautiful day, and I am so glad to be with you. God and Goddess, thank you so much for all of this beautiful nature surrounding me and all of the lovely blessings that you continue to give and provide. Please help us all to become the best versions of ourselves possible and ascend the golden ladder so that we can become better and make a better world. In the name of Elohim, I pray. Amen. Today is the first day of the Nasarean calendar. Yesterday was the Sabbath, and that makes today Body Day. And the prayer is, Our God and Goddess, immanent and transcendent, send to all your angel of peace. To my body, send your angel of life. On this day, the Nazareans would focus on how they can achieve better peace in their body, and that includes what we eat, the things that we are doing on a daily basis, and all of these different factors. So taking some time to just spend thinking about ways that you can achieve better peace within yourself and actually going about that, whether it's getting outside and grounding and spending more time out in nature, all of these different ways that we can nourish ourselves that isn't food related. That being said, I'm excited to read to you today from the Holy Megillah, the Nasarean Bible of the Essene Way, translated by Dave Greenleaf and available at essene.org. This is going to be from chapter 92 of the Holy Godspell, and it's called The Lord and Lady and Their Companions Sail on an Alef Ship, featuring a surprise. In this footnote about I just wanted to share with you, Alephim is plural for Alephim means elves, and the singular is Alef, which means elf, clearly. And they are, according to this footnote, the Alephim were the most human-like creatures in the primordial Eden, in the sense that their physical forms are more human-like than, say, a unicorn or something. And they also say that this race of beings, a species, the Alephim, has never fallen. So they've always retained their heavenly status and never fallen. So that being said, let's jump into chapter 92 of the Holy Godspell, which again is titled The Lord and Lady and Their Companions Sail on an Alef Ship, featuring a surprise. Behold, it is truly said that the Lord works in mysterious ways. Truly, the account that I now share is mysterious. It is so mysterious that it is more challenging for me, Sarah Jaleel, to describe than any other event in this Holy Godspell. Though I was there and personally experienced it, I do not profess to fully understand it. Nevertheless, I will try my best to describe this mysterious experience. After the Lord and Lady and their companions departed the Nasarean village that was located at the base of Mount Carmel, we went to the secret Nasarean port, the shore of the Mediterranean Sea. I call it a secret port because it was not an official, government-known landing for ships. It was simply a natural port where ships that were not too large could come close enough to the shore that smaller Nazarean boats could then transport passengers to it unseen by non-Nazareans. This region of the shore was not settled, and so there would be no likely witnesses, and were an occasional landing witnessed by some person, they would think the ship to be a smuggler rather than suspect we Nazareans as having our own fleet of ships. But as I learned this day, lo, there was an extra level of protection that prevented witnesses or other ships on the sea from observing an Alef-built ship. I learned that truth in the following manner. As we companions waited patiently for the promised Alef ship to arrive, Zabdiel, who had in his younger days sailed on an Alef ship, smiled, then said, "There it is." We all looked, but saw no ship. Zabdiel said, "Look more carefully." After a time, Zabdiel pointed it to a spot on the water, and we companions noticed that there was a bit of fuzziness that shimmered like a twinkling star. At first, we thought it simply the sun reflecting on the water, but then Zabdiel said, "Gaze on that shimmering spot as if it were your focusing agent in meditation." After a time of centering our awareness on the shimmering area, Zabdiel said, "Join me in chanting the following Alef mantra: Abracadabra." This mantra aids one in seeing what is hidden before one's very eyes. It is called the Alef mantra of revelation. It can be used not only to reveal an Alef ship that is cloaked by the shimmering effect, but also anytime that there is something that is seemingly hidden that is actually within your ability to perceive. How cool is that? And it's cool too to notice they talk about the shimmering effect when we think about the powers that be and their advanced ships and advanced technology that they have, and seeing that the Nazarenes had their own technology as well, which was related to the Alefim, who, it wasn't this fallen technology that the powers that be are using. It was higher vibe drive. As we chanted the mantra one by one, we all began to see the outline of a mid-sized ship. It was clear to me that some of the elder wizards and wizardesses in our party, and also the Lord and Lady, had already known how to reveal the ship. Like Zabdiel, they had previously noted the shimmering. Ta'om said to Zabdiel, "When we previously sailed between Alexandria and this port, that ship was also built by the Alefim, though it was crewed by humans. It looked different. It was not concealed by the shimmering effect." Zabdiel replied, "The Alefim build many different ships for different needs. This one is the most rare. Behold, this ship has the ability to sail not only on water, but also in the air." Reminds me of Captain Hook's ship, right? Even more amazing is that it can ride the Rainbow Bridge. I speak of the very same Rainbow Bridge that you have read about in the book of Enoch section of the Holy Megillah. Yea, and the very one referred to by Makeza in her account of how she came to this world from El Cush. I told you before that there would be a surprise in store for you. Behold, the most surprising parts of this surprise have not even yet occurred. I believe that I too will have the opportunity to be surprised on this great adventure, likely more than once. Several smaller boats paddled from the ship to the shore to shuttle us all to the ship. Although the ship was shaped similarly to others that I have seen, there was one most obvious difference. In the center of the ship was a large dome, the surface of which consisted of triangles, each triangle being one of the colors associated with the chakras, except that at the very center of each was a small circle that I will call white, but could also be called translucent. I will, in time, describe how this dome was used. A crew of 14 Alefim greeted us. Their captain was named Zahab, which means gold, from the root meaning shimmer or glitter. In a mystical sense, the word is used to refer to high-level spirituality, as in spiritual gold. And that high-level spiritual gold, that gold is actually the real gold that the Anunnaki, they were trying to manifest or to harvest in this world. It wasn't creating humans to actually mine gold in the earth when they could do robots to do that even better. The real gold that they are seeking is this spiritual gold. So their captain was named Zahab, and like his name indicated, had a radiant glow like unto spiritual gold. Because there were not enough sleeping rooms for a group of our size, the couples amongst us, as well as the elders, were given the available private rooms, and the rest of us were given use of the Rainbow Dome to share as a sleeping area. That dome proved to be effective for positive, powerful dreams. But before bed that night, and each subsequent night, there was much music and merriment. Lo, Alefim loved to sing and play music, and the Lord and Lady and their companions were happy to join in the joyful song fest beneath the bright stars. Our first destination was not far, Alexandria, Egypt. As with the hidden Nazarean port near Mount Carmel, the Alefim had their own hidden port near Alexandria. Using this port involved shuttling us from the Alef ship to land in smaller boats at night so as to be unseen. Just for context, for those that don't know, like the Nazareans have been heavily persecuted, and so they wouldn't really go in large groups together in different ways, because they would literally be killed. There was accounts of people that were killed for literally having this book. So that is why they are, going at night, so they're unseen. From there, it was not a far walk to the Mother Temple in the wilderness outside of Alexandria. Yeshua told us that this would be his last visit to the Mother Temple at Alexandria. Our stay here would be very brief, 2 days, as Alexandria was on the route to the island nation of Crete, where Zahab informed us we must perform a rescue mission. The Alef captain did not tell us who we would be rescuing from captivity on Crete, but that was why we would stay only 2 days at Alexandria. The first day that we stayed at the Mother Temple near Alexandria was the Nazarean Sabbath, and a service was held. Miriam led the assembly in performing circle songs, and Yeshua preached a sermon. Yeshua's sermon was titled Illumination of Variations in Tree of Life Symbology Depending on Purpose. An outline of the main points of that sermon will be presented after this report on our mysterious voyage with the Nasarean sailors. Our second day in Alexandria was spent with a renowned Nasarean prophetess named Anwa, the great-grandmother of Yeshua, widow of the great Nasarean wizard Yakin. Yeshua greeted her warmly, as did our entire group. Her status was such that she was known to all Nazareans as the Lighthouse of Alexandria. What an honorable title, right? On her previous visits to Alexandria, Anwa had been away on a secret mission in Macedonia. Wherefore, many of the companions had never met her, although the elders amongst us all knew her. On the day we spent with her, behold, she delivered a prophecy related to the era of the last days. In an appropriate place in this edition of the Holy Megillah, that prophecy, titled The Seven Trumpets of the Last Days, a revelation of prophetess Anwa, is provided. And I have read that before, so it's available on my YouTube channel as well for those that don't have this book yet. Before speaking that prophecy of the seven trumpets, Anwa took Migdana and I aside and told us, this prophecy is for the Megillah. It is a gift of warning to those that live in the era of the last days. Yea, when the Megillah goes forth in the land of the eagle from New Alexandria, the new Mother Temple that will at that time be in the land of the eagle, the words I speak today will warn that the era prophesied long ago by Enoch is at hand. Marvel not that I refer to a new Alexandria. For behold, Yeshua's grandfather, David of Alexandria, will reincarnate in the land of the eagle in the early days of the era known as the last days. And from the Mother Temple that he will establish in the wilderness, and from his lighthouse by the ocean, just for all of you that don't know, the bookstore in Florence is literally by the ocean, and it's the Lighthouse Bookstore. And from his lighthouse by the ocean, lo, the Megillah will again go forth amidst the diverse peoples of many lands. Yea, I tell you truly, the spiritual light of the tower of the wizard of Essene mountain of peace will depart Alexandria, Egypt, and be made manifest in the new Alexandria, that is the homeland of the eagle, where David the Yair will be reborn. Thus spoke Anwa, the prophetess. After our 2-day stay in Alexandria, we again departed in the Alef ship. Our destination was Crete, an island nation that was famous for its corrupt and greedy ways. Zahab now revealed the details of our rescue mission. We were going to rescue a phoenix bird from a Cretan region named Phenis. As Zahab explained, the prophetess Anwa, while on her return trip from her activities in Macedonia, had become aware that the ancient priesthood of the serpent, the Luciferian religion that Cain had served as high priest back in the era of ancient Eden, had a headquarters in Crete. I'm actually working on a whole little presentation that we can go over the priesthood of the serpent and talk about it, because there is a lot of even mainstream knowledge about this ancient cult that has infiltrated and corrupted all of these different religions, and so that is in the workings as well. While on Crete, she received a psychic communication during a dream from a phoenix bird being held captive in a dungeon in the region called Phenis, or Phenis, not sure. The black magic priesthood of the serpent kept the captive phoenix bird, a male named Zabhud, which means gifted, and slowly bled it. They took the blood and used it as an ingredient in some of their magical concoctions. Those concoctions included an elixir for long life that they sold to the royal families of various nations. Adrenochrome much? No? Wow. There was also a black market for phoenix feathers. One feather could be sold to the rich for more gold than most men could earn in a lifetime. This phoenix, Zabhud, had been held captive for many years. The dark magicians took enough blood each time they bled the phoenix as so to keep him alive. Barely. But so weak that he could not use his normal magical powers to escape or even communicate. However, Phoenix Zabhud could dream, and that is how Anwa made psychic contact with him. Part of Anwa's mission to Macedonia was to search for the phoenix. That was due to the fact that the phoenix had originally disappeared in Macedonia. The dark magicians not only controlled Phoenix Zabhud by bleeding him, but also drugged him so that he slept most of the time. Although his dreams were not as strong and articulate as they would be normally, Anwa, having come to Crete on her journey back to Alexandria, understood enough of the psychic dream communication to determine where he was held. She returned to Alexandria in order to enlist help from the Alef lions of Zayen. For behold, though Anwa was a mighty prophetess, she was not a great martial artist. Yea, and she knew that rescuing the phoenix was not a task for just one person alone, for he would certainly be well guarded. Zahab now told us his plan. Anwa provided me with a map to the building where Phoenix Zabhud is held. He is held below the main building in a basement dungeon. The building itself is a meat market run by the priesthood of the serpent. The land that accompanies the building includes a slaughterhouse. The dark priests delight in animal sacrifice rituals, and operating slaughterhouses is one of their favorite ways to earn income. They also believe that performing such bloody activity in the immediate vicinity of the captive phoenix acts as a sort of vile buffer to good vibrations. It is a fact, Anwa told me, that reaching the phoenix psychically was rendered difficult by the buffer of negative vibrations. For one who resonates with positive vibrations is not attracted by negative vibrations. However, because Anwa is attracted to healing painful vibrations, rather than flee the psychic cries of painful anguish from the animals at the slaughterhouse, she compassionately touched their minds with merciful empathy. How cool is that power? From that vantage, she was able to psychically cross through the buffer of negative vibrations and touch the mind of the dreaming phoenix. And before leaving Crete, Anwa planted the seed of a plan in the minds of the animals. While not all of those animals will still be living, some will be. The plan is as follows. On the signal from us, the animals will go wild and create such a disturbance that the attention of many of the dark priests on the premise will be grabbed and diverted from our initial entry. On the evening that we will arrive in that location, a fight to the death between two recently captured runaway slaves will be held nearby. Because the priesthood of the serpent is the hidden sponsor of this weekly bloody entertainment, it happens on their Sabbath day, some of them will be attending it and thus will not be at the slaughterhouse when we arrive. Zahab gestured toward his Alef crew, smiled, and said, "Crew was not, they are great sailors. Lo, they are Alef lions of Zion. And there are some lions of Zion amongst the Lord and Lady and their companions that may join our team for this rescue mission. It is a voluntary mission. Do any of you want to participate?" I don't know about you, but I would be signing up. Every hand went up, not only of the companions, but also the hands of the Lord and Lady. After a pleased laugh, Zahab said, "I will choose 7 of you. The rest will be assigned an equally important job. You will sit in the rainbow dome on this ship in a prayer circle to pray for the success of our mission." Those chosen to accompany the 7 Alef lions of Zion were 5 that were deemed excellent martial artists and 2, Nagoa and Perry, that would use their special gifts to serve as scouts. These were shapeshifters. Those 2 would also signal the animals when the time came to begin their wild commotion. The 5 chosen for their martial arts skills were Yeshua, Yohanan, Philip, Yehuda, and Yosef, the Arimatitya. Magdalene would stay on the ship to lead the prayer circle. She did not feel slighted to be given this assignment, for as she said to us when we formed that circle, Zahab spoke truly when he said that this job is every bit as important. Though neither I, Sarah Jaleel, nor my mother, Magdana the scribe, accompanied the 5 martial artists, Yohanan afterward provided the following account of their mission to rescue Phoenix Zabhud. After the obviously successful return to the ship of the Alef and human lions of Zion, their success was obvious in that none appeared to be injured, and accompanying them was the Phoenix. Sita, whose husband Yohanan had been on the mission, asked, "Will you tell us what happened?" Yohanan smiled and said, "First, after such fierce fighting, let us replenish our strength with the meal. After we eat, with the permission of Zahab and Yeshua, I will tell the tale of the fierce fighting." Zahab and Yeshua smiled and nodded their agreement. Yeshua said, "Phoenix Zabhud needs treatment. Magdalene and I will see to that. Sita can provide Yohanan a back rub to soothe his muscles after all his fierce fighting." Both Sita and Yohanan smiled. After a shared meal, all of us, including the Alef sailors, gathered that night on the deck of the ship for Yohanan's account of the successful mission to free Phoenix Zabhud. Yohanan smiled, then said, "Now that I have had a thorough massage of my battle-tested muscles and a nourishing meal, lo, I feel ready to tell what I will call the battle to free Phoenix Zabhud." Zahab and Yeshua looked at each other and rolled their eyes in a humorous manner. Yohanan continued, "As you might suspect from all of our jesting and the fact that none of us rescuers had so much as a bruise, there was no fierce battle. Nevertheless, as I will share, there was a great Zion lesson learned about wise planning. I will explain. Recall that, as Zahab previously explained, this particular day and time to conduct the mission was chosen for good reason. We knew that many of the dark priests would be away from the slaughterhouse so as to attend the fight to the death of two recently captured runaway slaves. Anwa knew from her research and had told Zahab that the serpent priesthood was the sponsor of an illegal weekly fight to the death, which each week featured different slaves or other captives. Though illegal, the dark priests bribed the local authorities to let these fights occur. The authorities, being corrupt, were happy to take the bribes. Yea, and they figured that these fights would cause their own slaves to think twice before attempting to escape. They ordered their soldiers to stay away from the area where the fights were held each week. Due to her diligent research, Anwa knew that no government police or soldiers would be in attendance, and that therefore many of the dark priests would be there to provide security, as well as to enjoy what to them was great entertainment. Now, just how dark these people are, like a fight to the death of their captives, and the government is just turning a blind eye. And then we see how much of that is going on in our world today, where the government turns a blind eye to different sorts of evil that are going on, trafficking, and just all sorts of different evils. Her advanced planning led to the following result. When we arrived at the slaughterhouse on the land where Phoenix Zabhud was kept, only a token force of 5 guard priests were on the land. The rest were away attending the fight. When, on the prearranged signal from Perry and Nagoa, the animals held in the slaughterhouses intentionally aided us by going wild to create such a disturbance that the attention of the remaining dark priests was diverted from our initial entry, we were in the building before they realized what was actually happening. Seeing our greater strength in numbers, they did not attempt to fight. Rather, they fled to get the other dark priests that were at the illegal fight. The location of the fight to death was in the same town as the slaughterhouse, not very far away. As they hoped to get their friends and return in time to fight us with greater numbers. We freed Phoenix Zabhud, and according to the agreement that Anwa had made with the animals, we freed them and took them to a ship that Anwa had prearranged would be in the harbor. Woohoo! It seemed to be a normal cargo ship, but was hired by Anwa to perform the task of receiving and then fleeing with not only the freed animals, but also the 2 runaway slaves. For behold, Anwa's diligent planning had even included the following element. The few priest guards at the slaughterhouse fled to get the other dark priests who were attending the fight to the death. Those other dark priests, hearing that their dark temple at the slaughterhouse was being attacked, abandoned the fight to run back to the slaughterhouse. At that precise moment, Perry and Nagoa, now back in their normal human forms, for they had previously been in the form of birds, appeared to the 2 slaves and, before the fight had even begun, helped them escape to the waiting cargo ship in the harbor. Due to Anwa's precise calculations in regard to timing, our group of rescuers had already departed the slaughterhouse well before the return of the dark priests. Both the cargo ship, whose captain was secretly a Nasarean, which was in the nearby official harbor, and our own Alef ship that was cloaked and waiting in the unofficial harbor, departed before the dark priests had even begun their search throughout the town. So the rescue mission was accomplished, and not a single physical blow was thrown. Seeing that Yohanan had completed his account of the actual not-so-fierce battle to free the Phoenix, Zahab said, Yohanan, you previously said that though the battle was not actually fierce, you learned a great Zayan lesson. What was the lesson that you learned? Yohanan replied, I learned that, with wise planning, some missions can be accomplished without having to resort to physical combat. Zahab smiled, then replied, exactly so. The best physical battles are those that are wisely avoided. Sita added, I suppose, then, that Yohanan did deserve this massage, though he had no bruises. Everyone laughed, then gathered the musical instruments. The rest of the night we sang and danced. Now, it may seem that this story is ending without the big surprise that the reader was promised at the outset, but that is not the case. I will now share the surprise. Upon our return to the hidden Nasarean port near Alexandria, lo, Yeshua revealed that the most mysterious part of our voyage had yet to occur. The Lord said, Phoenix Sabhud is doing much better, but he needs to regain strength in El Cush before returning to his missionary activity in this world. He is too weak to travel the Rainbow Bridge without assistance, and that assistance will now be given. Behold, of all Alef ships in this world, you now sail on the most advanced. For lo, this ship has been designed to not only ride upon the waters of this world, but also to ride the Rainbow Bridge, which some of the elders amongst our companions, the Lord glanced at Perry and Nagoa, well know the ways of the Rainbow Bridge. Most of you know only what is written in the Megillah and what you heard from wizardess Nehezah, the widow of Zebulon. In the Megillah, we learned the following about the Rainbow Bridge. The speaker in this excerpt is one describing the Rainbow Bridge, or the one describing the Rainbow Bridge is Enoch. Yeshua opened the Holy Megillah and read the following excerpt from the Nasarean book of Enoch. And behold, at the top of my head was a whirlwind, yea, and a sound like rushing water. And the whirlwind became a spiral ladder of golden light. And I heard the voice of a woman calling me, saying, Enoch, come to me. I followed the voice, which was enchanting and kind, and lo, I was suddenly above my head in a spiritual body of supernal light, looking upon my dense body of bone and flesh. With spiritual eyes, I looked up and beheld the dove. Between her and I was a rainbow of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. Yea, the rainbow was like a bridge, and when I moved toward it, behold, the 6 bands of color of the rainbow merged with my body of light. Lo, the first band of the rainbow was red, and it merged with my body at the place of the first sephirah, your root chakra, right? The second band of the rainbow was orange, and it merged with my body at the place of the second sephirah. The third band of the rainbow was yellow, and it merged with my body at the place of the third sephirah. The fourth band of the rainbow was green, and it merged with my body at the place of the fourth sephirah. The fifth band of the rainbow was blue, and it merged with my body at the place of the fifth sephirah. The sixth band of the rainbow was violet, and it merged with my body at the place of the sixth sephirah. Then, behold, all 6 colors rose up my spine and entered the area of the 7th sephirah. There the colors danced and mated and merged into one color, which was like pure white light, translucent as a clear crystal. Then all the colors danced together in each sephirah, with the dominant color of each sephirah leading the dance. And lo, the dominant color of each sephirah wore the 7th as a crown. Behold, I desired within myself to be at the other end of the rainbow bridge with the dove, and lo, I was instantly there. I looked back to where I had just been and saw that the rainbow bridge descends from the sun and reaches to each being on earth. Yea, the rainbow bridge is a portion of the Nahar Nahara, the river of light, and connects the center of each being with the center of all. Yeshua ended his reading of the excerpt and said, although this section of the Nazarean book of Enoch continues and provides additional important information of the significance of light, I stop here because I am sharing the portion that is most pertinent to the experience that we will soon share. For behold, together we will travel the rainbow bridge to El Cush. I ended the excerpt at this point because I want to call your attention to the last verse that I read. It was, yea, the rainbow bridge is a portion of the Nahar Nahara, the river of light, and connects the center of each being with the center of all. The key teaching is that the rainbow bridge connects the center of each being with the center of the all. In regards to that center, we also read these words. Then behold, all 6 colors rose up my spine and there the colors danced and mated and merged into one color, which was like pure white light, translucent as a clear crystal. I tell you truly, at your spiritual center, which is your crown chakra, the 7th sephirah, all of the colors of the rainbow and the many other colors that the human eye does not see or differentiate become what we call white light, which is also called clear light or translucent light. Hear this. The center of the all that is connected to the center of each being is that white light that includes and transcends every color. This, the rainbow bridge is not traveled through ordinary space like riding a horse from one town to another. Behold, it is traveled by centering oneself in the white light and simply being where you intend to be. Also, know this. Although there is a still column of white light within the rainbow bridge that flows from the 7th heaven within the spiritual dimension of the sun to our world and into every crown chakra of every being in this world, that same white light also flows into each of the worlds of this solar family, the sun and all its worlds and beings, including Al-Kush. And that white light from the spiritual dimension of the sun that flows to every crown chakra in this solar family first flows into the crown of the sun from an even higher heavenly realm, the ultimate source being deity. There are many levels of complexity related to this topic. One being that, as I have previously stated, when we say that we are centered, we are really saying that we are relatively closer to the absolute still center, the unmanifest state of pure potential, than is typical for a being in the realm where we currently reside. If we were now to all enter the absolute still zero, we would not end up in Al-Kush, our chosen destination this day, because Al-Kush, though at a higher level of heavenly vibration than this world on which we now stand, is nevertheless a manifested level of existence. So what we actually do is get appropriately close to the still zero, the state that we call one touching zero. And though it seems that our destination, in this case Al-Kush, is reached instantaneously, it is not absolutely instantaneous. That is also true of all of the progressively higher realms, including the 7th of this solar family, and also including those beyond. Travel to them on the Rainbow Bridge is nearly instantaneous because the traveler is relatively close to absolute still zero. But any realm that has beings and some sort of civilization is in the realm of manifestation, actualization, and thus is to some degree not returned to the unmanifested state of absolute still zero. That is on purpose. That is good. Jaja actualized a divine plan that pulls beings out of potential being into actual being. Yea, and created the countless concentric circles of which still zero is the ultimate core and ultimate circumference. Even when we say we are close to or touching still zero, we are still speaking in relative terms. A heavenly being in a higher heaven practicing the meditation practice called one touching zero will get closer to actually touching that cauldron of potential than a meditator in a relatively less rarefied world. But let's not split hairs. It feels to each meditator like he or she is touching zero, and each will call that experience being centered. That was a lot to take in, but hopefully you're still with me. Before we begin our group experience of being centered, now that you understand that we will use that term in a relative sense, I will explain why we will begin by sitting in the rainbow dome. We're just one of us going to traveling the rainbow bridge. If that person were spiritually developed enough, there would be no need to use the rainbow dome. But because Phoenix Zabhud is near death and cannot now travel the Rainbow Bridge without assistance, and because I have made a choice to bless you all with this experience as my thank you gift before I leave this incarnation, we will make use of the Rainbow Dome. Behold, the Rainbow Dome is the work of the Alefim. Yea, it is rarely used. Of an entire group together on the Rainbow Bridge, just as this Alef ship enabled us to travel as a group across the water. We will now all sit in concentric circles so that we all fit in the Rainbow Dome and begin a meditation that I will teach. The Lord and Lady and their companions, along with the Alef sailors and Phoenix Zabhud, entered the Rainbow Dome and sat in concentric circles. Yeshua said, even if you were to become a magical bird that could fly as high as the sun, lo, you would never find El Cush or any of the other 7 heavens in this solar family. That is because each of the 7th heavens exists in a different dimension than this one. Wherefore, the sort of travel that we now do is interdimensional. This Rainbow Dome has been designed to shift into the dimension of the Rainbow Bridge that relates to El Cush. No Rainbow Dome has been created that can shift a group into the dimensions of the higher heavens, only to the first heaven that we call El Cush. The dense physical structure of the Rainbow Dome will remain here in this world, and our own dense physical bodies will remain in it. But the interdimensional light body of the dome will shift into the dimension of El Cush on the Rainbow Bridge and will carry us in our own interdimensional light bodies to the dimension of El Cush. Your El Cush dimension bodies will look like your earth bodies, but more radiant, more ethereal, like the Megillah describes the first bodies of humans in ancient Eden before the fall into denser vibrations. We will now chant a mantra and perform certain prayers and rituals that will assist us to pleasantly experience the exit from our dense bodies and to pleasantly make the interdimensional shift to El Cush. I, Sarah Jaleel, cannot reveal the particular mantra that we chanted, but I will reveal what happened after we chanted it and performed certain prayers and rituals. Behold, just as Enoch of old reported, I felt at the top of my head, at the area that we call the crown chakra, a whirlwind, yea, and a sound like rushing water. And the whirlwind became a spiral ladder of golden light. The next thing I perceived was that myself and all the others were, I would say, shiny and radiant, more so than usual. And the Rainbow Dome was itself more radiant, and its colors more intense. Yeshua and Zahab carried Phoenix Zabhud from the Rainbow Dome and invited the rest of us to follow. When we, the companions of the Lord and Lady, stepped out of the Rainbow Dome with the others, to our great surprise, we were greeted by Wizardess Mekeza's dearly departed, supposedly dead, husband Zebulon, the former teacher of Wizard Zabdiel. Not only was that a pleasant surprise, but so was the fact that, based on the story that Mekeza had told us of how she had came to Earth from El Cush, we recognized this location as the very spot where she had been at the time that she came to Earth to rescue Zebulon from a red dragon. Recall that when we visited Mekeza at her farm near the hot springs on the east side of the River Jordan, she had told us the following story about how she lost her legs when she came from El Cush to Earth to rescue Zebulon. Mekeza had told us, in El Cush, my house, according to my own choice, was located near the Rainbow Bridge. River of light spirals up from Earth to El Cush and then beyond. I had discovered that this was a great location for performing my chosen ministry. That ministry was to sit in my treehouse and gaze into my crystal ball after reciting the following prayer. Elohim and Jaja, who am I destined to help with my prayers this day? You know from reading the Nasarean book of Enoch and the Megillah that it is at the 4th heaven that we specialize in being prayer angels. But that does not mean that one who feels called to that ministry cannot do so while in El Cush. Lo, even a human being, while on earth, can choose to participate in a prayer ministry. In my own situation in El Cush, each day that I felt called to, I said that prayer and then gazed into my crystal ball. I had been given this crystal ball by the heart of the holy mountain at the highest elevation of El Cush. It came from the heart of the mountain, already formed in the shape of a perfect sphere. It rode to the surface on a magical underground stream and rolled to me from the sacred waterfall near where I sat in meditation one auspicious morning. Having taken it that morning to my treehouse, my prayer ministry began that day. Each day that I felt so called and chanted the prayer, Elohim and Jah, whom I destined to help with my prayers this day, behold, the image of a human or an animal on earth appeared, often in some sort of tough situation, and I prayed for them. But on the day that I met Zebulon, which is the same day that I lost my legs and came to earth, something different occurred. Behold, I said the prayer and gazed into my crystal ball, and I saw a human being, the Nasarean wizard Zebulon, about to be killed by a red dragon. Now, red dragons have entered an agreement with Abraham and Sarah not to directly attack humans until the era called Armageddon is upon us, and that treaty is then ended. However, if you know anything about the red dragons, you know that they are not to be trusted to keep promises or treaties very well. That is why they are ruled over by the black dragons. Though just as evil and even more cunning, the black dragons have more self-control than the red dragons. So, seeing this red dragon about to attack Zebulon on earth, a clear violation of the treaty, rather than try and form a prayer, behold, without thinking about it, I simply jumped into the Rainbow Bridge River of Light and was instantly on earth, standing between Zebulon and the red dragon. The swipe of the clawed arm that had been meant for Zebulon hit me instead, cutting off both my legs. Evidently, even though my transition from El Cush to Earth happened in a flash, my body had been converted to a human physical body so as to be appropriate for that atmosphere. Because the red dragon was shocked to see me suddenly appear and receive the blow that had been meant for Zebulon, it paused a moment to consider the situation. Before it struck again, lo, Abraham and Sarah, he is a golden dragon and she is a silver dragon, appeared and drove off the red dragon. I would have bled to death, but they cleanly amputated the poison remains of my legs and put a stop to the bleeding. They could not replace the legs, but told me, "You will need to remain on earth for the rest of the lifetime of this physical body. But lo, a human lifespan is but a blink of an eye. And when you return to El Cush after this lifespan, there will be a happy surprise there waiting for you." That is the end of my reminder to the reader of that previous account by Mackenzie on how she lost her legs. The Lord and Lady and their companions, having now arrived at El Cush and stepped out of the Rainbow Dome, were presently surprised to learn that Zebulon now lived in Mackenzie's former treehouse and, with the very same crystal ball, now performed the prayer ministry that had been previously performed by Mackenzie. He told us that he had felt called to continue her work and that once she passed from her life on earth, she would return to this very treehouse and find him waiting for her. He said, "I have seen that truth in her crystal ball, but please do not tell her this upon your return. It is a surprise, and a surprise is only a surprise if it is surprising." We all shared a laugh and, at Zabdiel's request, left Phoenix Zabud in Zebulon's care. Yeshua told us, "We must return to earth. Even so, I hereby tell you truly, all of you will, when the time is ripe, return to El Cush. Yea, and every single one of you will see all of the seventh heavens. But first, each of you, as well as Miriam and I, have work to do on earth." Thus ended our surprise visit to El Cush. And that is the end of the story. I am on, hold on one second, let me just see what's going on in the live chat, if everything is going okay. But I'm kind of got to the calendar whereby we see the Essene Wheel of Days, and I will be doing a teaching on that in the future coming up, because I actually now have a digital version that I can actually put up here and share with you. So cool. Hello, Z Proxy. How's it going? David D says, fly on a ship. Cool. Artist says, hey, everybody. David D, Z Proxy, Queen and Honest Snow. Thanks. Thanks for the shout out. David D says, the guards saw the lions of Zion coming up and fled. Exactly. Artist says, a black cat in the background. Yeah, there's quite a few around here. There's, I think, 2 black cats, and there is a gray cat. Hi, I'll come over and play in a little bit, okay? And there is a new little baby gray kitten cat here as well. So it's really cool to see all of these animals. David D says, heaven exists in another dimension, and you need to leave your physical body to enter heaven. Definitely. These dense bodies are not going to be going with us. Chanting the correct mantra unlocks amazing abilities. White magic. Exactly. Hello, Warren. Kenneth, how's it going? Hydrostatic powers have destroyed the fiery sorceries 2 times before this time, and half rule under the sun that removed them for the 3rd time. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Blow the earth through the blue plasma sea to a frozen time, never to rule with arc electrical powers. I'm not sure what you mean by that. David D says, Warren, the last time they ruled, could you clarify on what you speak? Yeah. Artist says, when she said, and animals appear, and in the background, a squirrel climbed into the tree. Oh, cool. They're eternal souls of existences in all of forevermore in time. Kenneth, I'm really not sure what you mean. So maybe you could clarify that later. But I don't personally believe that souls are damned to hell either way. I think that we choose our own destination, and a lot of the problem with these souls that are locked out of heaven, they don't want to give up the physical, they don't want to repent, they don't want to do what it takes to actually ascend and get to heaven. So yeah, there are allegations of the fallen ones being like trapped in like the wandering stars, the planets are fallen ones entrapped in these vessels. One of the memes or the scriptures here that I feel called to share is actually a quote from Joseph regarding the stars. And Joseph, the father of Yeshua, and said that, come on, where's it at? That when we commune with the stars, we commune with the great spirits, and that they have earned, I'm still waiting for it to load. When you commune with the stars, you commune with the saints. For the stars are great lights indeed. They have earned their position in the heavens. I really love this this better outlook on the stars, rather than them being these rebellious, disembodied, enslaved beings, that they actually earned their place. And that's one of the things also, it's kind of cool thinking about Abraham and Sarah and how they earned their place to be the high priest and priestess of the temple through being righteous. And you earn your place in being those radiant stars. And then even the scripture, I think it's in Daniel in the mainstream Bible, that says the righteous will shine like the stars in the firmament, and kind of just, they are in an honored position. And it's just interesting how some of the truther things that we, rabbit holes that we go down will lead us to believe that things in creation are evil. And I don't know, I don't believe that, for instance, Saturn is supposed to be Satan, that any of these, again, I align with what this scripture is saying, and that God wouldn't put a thing in the sky that is like representing this evil force in that way. So yeah, it's just interesting to see how different my perspective is also in in this awakening process and coming to new truths and understandings, deeper understandings and wider perspectives, and just being open to all of that. So cool. David D says, the stars contain their own Abraham and Sarah, representatives of God and Goddess, not fallen angels. Exactly. That is disinfo to hide the divine truth about the stars. Did we say that at the same time, or are you just saying that for me? Yeah, but it's really cool that there's other. One of my friends was even talking to me about in Mormonism and how the righteousness over time can eventually lead to you being like the creator of a world, essentially, in some. Sorry if I messed that up, but that was the gist of what I remember of it. And it kind of correlated to this and them in the same idea of us also graduating through the cosmic school system and then getting the honor of being the ones that plant the seed of holy creation on this world. God and Goddess are the ones that actually created the seed. They're the ones that just get to plant it and tend to the seed and make sure that that seed is just well taken care of and all of that stuff. So definitely an interesting and different theology in that perspective as well, that the creators of this world, Abraham and Sarah, aren't technically they are just the high priests and priestess of the seventh heaven, and they're ones again given that the seed of creation to plant, not the ones that created the seed themselves. So very cool stuff, and hope that you enjoyed learning about that. I've been wanting to read about that for a while because it's really cool that there's talking about phoenix and dragons and all these different creatures that existed before. Some still exist in hiding now, but like the footnote that we talked about, the Alefim, and how there's these different beings in old Eden. Some of them haven't fallen, so some of them aren't here, but some of them are. And the phoenix and the dragon's really cool. And then to hear about the serpent of the priesthood serpent on this world and how it kind of just confirms what we already know about them, that they delight in animal sacrifice, that they'll take greedy payments for things, that they will bleed beings out for profit, for life extending technologies, all these different things that are literally contained in there that are relevant to our world today. So hopefully that story was cool to you as well. I thought it was really cool. And yeah, today is body day, so I'm going to need to go and nourish my body and take care of that. But tomorrow is Sunday, and I will be on here for a longer period. Well, today was kind of longer too, but I'm not really sure. I have a few topics that I wanted to talk about. Not sure which one we're going to get to, but I'll be here tomorrow at noon to pray with you and also to share with you what is put on my heart for the time. I hope that you have a wonderful day today, and God and the Goddess will empower your way and show you really awesome things and just make your life way better.